and welcome back to another episode of Jeff and Joe's Puerto Rican Kitchen, where we show you how to make easy, authentic Puerto Rican recipes. As you can tell from the familiar background, we're back in New York City after spending the holidays in Puerto Rico with our family. We had such an amazing time visiting all the familiar places. El Yunque, El Morro, or San Juan. It was such a great time. But we also had the opportunity to try lots of great food and get some really good ideas for more videos.
Oh my god, so much good food. Between visiting family members and going to our old favorite restaurants, we got tons of ideas and inspiration. In fact, I'd say about 10 pounds worth of inspiration.
Well, good thing that bathing suit season is a few months away. But all jokes aside, one of our favorite things to do in Puerto Rico was visit the local bakeries and try all of their fresh delicacies. There's so much great bread and cakes and pastries, but one thing we just couldn't get enough of were quesitos.
Quesitos are amazing, and if you haven't had one, you really need to. These flaky pastries are just oh so good, and they're stuffed with cream cheese. They're great for any time of day. You can have them in the morning with coffee, you can have them in the evening with hot chocolate, anything you want. It's totally up to you. But unfortunately, we can't find great ones right here, so we're gonna need to make them. But luckily, they're really easy. So let's get cooking.
The first thing we need to do is prepare the filling for your quesitos. As the name suggests, quesitos are filled with sweetened cream cheese. And while I'm sure there are many different recipes out there, I've found that the simplest filling is the best. So we're just going to be using cream cheese, powdered sugar, and a pinch of salt. Just go ahead and add these to a mixing bowl and mix until smooth. When I'm making my filling, I like to start with cold cream cheese. This makes the mixing a little bit more work because the cheese is firmer, but I've found that if I use room temperature cream cheese, the mixture is too liquidy and it can flow out of the quesitos while I'm baking them. Also, make sure you're using powdered sugar as opposed to just regular granulated sugar. Powdered sugar contains a small amount of cornstarch, which also helps solidify the mixture so it doesn't flow out of the quesitos when you're baking them. Once you've prepared your filling, go ahead and add it to a piping bag if you have one. As you'll see later in this video, it makes it a whole lot easier to add your filling to the dough. That said, if you don't have a piping bag, no worries. You can just use a spoon to add your filling. With your filling ready, let's go ahead and roll out our dough. Start with a pre-packaged sheet of puff pastry. Here, we are using Pepperidge Farm's frozen puff pastry sheets, and we've provided a link in the description just in case you want to reference it. The important thing, if you use frozen puff pastry, is to make sure you've let it fully thaw, which I generally do by leaving it in the refrigerator overnight before I use it. Once you've got your puff pastry out of the bag, lightly flour your working surface and lay out your dough. Then, using a rolling pin, gently roll the puff pastry out until it's a rectangle approximately 15 inches long by 10 inches wide. If your dough starts to get sticky, just add a little bit more flour from time to time. Once your puff pastry is rolled out, cut it into 6 equal pieces, each which should be approximately 5 inches by 5 inches. Once these are cut, spread them out a little bit on your working surface so we can fill them. Now we're almost ready to fill our quesitos, but first we need to make a quick egg wash, which we'll use as glue to hold our quesitos together. This egg wash is super simple. All you need to do is add 1 egg white to a bowl and then beat it vigorously with a fork until frothy. Now back to the quesitos. Using your pastry bag, add a generous amount of filling diagonally down the middle of your squares of puff pastry. Use your judgment on how much filling to add, but just be careful that if you add too much, some of it might spill out of the quesito while it's baking. As I mentioned previously, if you don't have a pastry bag to pipe in your filling, you can just use a spoon to scoop filling onto your puff pastry squares. Once your filling has been added, use a brush to apply egg wash to the two corners of your quesitos that are going to be folded over your filling. This egg wash will act as a glue, which will help your quesitos hold their shape while you're baking them. Once you've added the egg wash, take one of the corners and fold it over the filling, gently pressing the corner into the puff pastry on the other side of the filling to make sure it sticks. Then, take the other corner you added egg wash to and fold it over the filling, tucking it underneath the quesito. So again, take one of the corners with egg wash and fold it over the filling. Then take the remaining corner with egg wash and fold it over the filling, tucking it all the way underneath the quesito. Repeat this for the rest of your quesitos. Once your quesitos are folded, go ahead and transfer them to a tray that has been lined with parchment paper and coated with a little bit of flour. Another great way to make quesitos is to add some guava paste to them. Here, we are using Goya's guava paste, which is a semi-solid fruit preserve that you can generally find in your Hispanic grocery stores. Just open up the can and cut pieces that are approximately 6 inches long and half an inch in width and height. Now go ahead and repeat the same steps for making quesitos. Gently flour your surface, then roll out your pastry sheet until it forms a rectangle approximately 15 inches long by 10 inches wide. Once your dough is rolled out, go ahead and cut it into 6 equally sized squares, approximately 5 inches by 5 inches. With your dough cut, add your cream cheese filling just like before. Once you've added your cheese, go ahead and lay down your strips of guava paste just right on top of your cream cheese filling. Then, press the guava paste down into the cheese so the cheese encompasses the guava. This way, if the guava melts, it won't run out of your quesitos. With your guava added, just fold your quesitos the same as before. Add some egg wash to the corners, fold one corner over and gently press it into the puff pastry. Then wrap the remaining corner over the filling and tuck it underneath the quesito. With your quesitos all put together, you are ready to bake them. Preheat your oven to 350. Once your oven is hot, go ahead and bake your quesitos for 20 minutes. If you are baking 2 trays of quesitos, make sure to switch the trays halfway through so they bake evenly. While your quesitos are baking, we're going to make a glaze to brush on top of them, just to add a little extra sweetness and color. To make this glaze, take your remaining egg wash that we used before and add a tablespoon of honey, then stir to combine well. Once your 20 minutes are up, go ahead and pull your first tray of quesitos out of the oven. Then, working quickly, brush the tops of your quesitos with your honey glaze and then sprinkle them with coarse sugar. Here, we're using turbinado sugar. Now repeat this process with your second tray of quesitos. Pull them out, brush the tops with your honey glaze, and then sprinkle them with turbinado sugar. Now bake your quesitos for another 10 minutes, switching the trays halfway through. Once your quesitos are brown, take them out of the oven and transfer them to a cooling rack. Once cooled, they're ready to eat. But who am I kidding? I'm sure you won't be able to wait that long. Oh man, it's just like being back in Puerto Rico. I love the guava-filled ones, so I'm gonna start with one of those.
Well, I have to say, these look incredible. That golden color on the puff pastry from the egg wash that you put in it and the honey glaze, it looks great. So I'm gonna go for one too.
Well, it's not just the looks, these taste amazing. I think the tartness from the guava really balances out the sweetness in the cream cheese and the puff pastry. Perfect bite. I could eat these all day.
Agreed. I love the plain cream cheese ones. That flakiness in the puff pastry is such a treat, but it is a little bit of a messy experience.
Indeed. Sorry, I can't stop eating these. Well, if you love quesitos as much as we did, we hope you'd share this amazing recipe with your friends and loved ones. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share the link on your other social media outlets. People need to see how good quesitos are. And then, join us again next week for another episode of Jeff and Joe's Puerto Rican Kitchen.